Welcome to the gathering. My name is Misha.
And my name is Camila, and we're both HSM student leaders, and we're so glad you guys are here today.
We are so excited that you guys are here today. This is our 8th time meeting today, and we are so excited for what God is going to do tonight.
And if it's your first time joining us, welcome. We're so glad you're here. The gathering is a place where women of all generations come together to grow and to go.
We are so excited that you are here, and we're gonna do everything that we can to make you safe and protected. So please, when you come and you're ready to go, please make sure that you just take safety precautions and that you're COVID friendly, and leave, wait, and then we'll
dismiss you.
We'll dismiss you.
Yeah, and as we're going right into a time of worship, we ask that you guys just stay seated until the end of the event. And if you don't know where worship is, it's a time where you just take time to pause, reflect, and just thank God for what He's doing in our lives.
Right, so without further ado, how about we all stand up and get ready for worship?
Come on, give it up for these awesome ladies. What's up, girls? You made it. We're so glad that you're here. Let's get ready to give our praise offering to our Most High God tonight. Anybody excited? Can I hear a roar to in here? All right, yeah, we know how to worship. Come on, let's put our hands together. Let's all sing, let's praise. Let praise be a weapon that silences the enemy. Let praise be a weapon that conquers all anxiety. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We sing your name in the dark and it conquers everything. We sing it all we are and we claim your victory. Let it rise. Let praise arise. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. In Yes, you are. Come on, girls. Let's come together. People come together, strangers, neighbors, our blood is one. Children of generations, of every nation, of kingdom come. So don't let your heart be troubled. Come on, hold your head up high. Don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth. God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from.
Father in heaven, we come to you in the powerful name of Jesus, just to thank you for this night. We thank you that you call us your daughters, that we have community, that we have a place to belong. Lord, you say there's more to life. And so, Father, we come here, a lot of us not feeling that. I know a lot of people have come here with a lot on their plates, a lot on their hearts, Lord. We don't have to go any further than turning on the news to see the sadness in our world. But God, you remind us tonight that you are a God who hears. You stoop to hear, you say. You are a God of justice. You are a God of mercy. And most important, like we just sang, Lord, you are a God of grace. Thank you for your good grace. And so tonight we worship you, and we just want to exalt your name here tonight. Father, let this be a place where your power and your spirit is felt. May be this a place where your name is exalted and lifted high, because you alone are worthy to receive all power and glory and honor and praise. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Girls, stay standing, because we have one more song. And this song is one, if you've attended Calvary for any time, you'll know this song. It's got incredible words, but if you are new, I just want to speak to you for one moment. First of all, I want to say welcome. Whether you are online or you're out on the green or you're here, welcome. And if you look around and you go, I don't know what this is all about. I've never been to church. I don't know this Jesus. I don't know why all these women got something going on and they're raising their hands. I don't even know what this is all about. We just want to say, this next song, you don't have to sing, because I know that can be awkward. If you want to just listen, the words are going to be up here on the screen as it has been. But this song is so beautiful because it tells the story of why we sing, why we gather, why we're here, and why we're community. It's when we are found in hopelessness, and that Jesus had to come and die and be raised on a cross. And then because of that, the church was born. And for that reason, for the hope of eternal life, we sing with everything in us to worship our Savior. And so girls, if this is your story, then I want you just to sing as one voice and just magnify God in this place. Amen? Glad you're here.
Let's sing this together. In the darkness we were waiting, without hope and without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophet. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Let's lift up our hands and sing this out together. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Amen. Woo. Let's sing it together. To reveal the kingdom coming, to reveal the kingdom coming, and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering, you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake, you died. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Listen to this part. In the morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath. Come on. Till the soul was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. Come on. And the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who come to the Father are restored. And the church of Christ was born. Then the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of all shall not kneel, shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, to the King of Kings. Oh, you're worthy, Lord. Yeah. How we praise you, Lord. Oh, we praise you, Father. Oh, we praise you, Son. Come on, ladies. Oh, we praise you, Father. Oh, we praise you, Son. Holy Spirit in one. Thank you, God. Girls, what is he to you tonight? Are you reminded that he's your maker? Are you reminded that he's your savior? Are you reminded that he is your promise keeper? Are you reminded that he is your redeemer, that he is your provider, that he is going to heal and redeem and restore and provide every single one of your needs tonight? Tonight he has come to meet with us. We have come to meet with him. So girls, let's tell him that he's worthy, that he is so worthy of our praise. Just tell him, just shout it out. You are worthy, God. You are worthy. Yes, you are. Let's tell him. And you are worthy of your name. You are worthy. Yes, you are. You are worthy of your name. You are worthy. Tell him who he is. You are worthy of your name. And you are worthy. Come on, all across this place, let's lift our voice. Oh, you are worthy of your name, Jesus. Oh, yes, you are. Come on, we're going to sing of who he is. My author, my maker, my ransom, my savior, my refuge, my hiding place. Tell him. And you're my helper, my healer, my blessed redeemer, my answer, my saving grace. You're my hope in the shadows, my strength in the battles, my anchor for all my days. And you stand by my side, you stood in my place, Jesus, no other name, only Jesus, no other name. You are worthy. You are worthy of your name. You are worthy. You are worthy of your name. You are worthy. Yes, you are. You are worthy of your name. You are worthy, Lord Jesus. You are worthy of your name, Jesus. Yes, isn't he good, ladies? Isn't he good? Can you give him a shout of praise? Just all across this place. You ladies can go ahead and be seated.
What truly makes people happy? And what's the difference between being happy and having meaning in life? I think we all wonder, is this all there is? Is there more to life?
gathering one more time. We are so glad that you're here. For our girls on the green and online, another special welcome to you. We are so glad that you're here. The gathering, as you've heard already, is a place where girls of all generations come together to grow and to go. And we believe in that so much, that it's a space where girls gather from all different generations, of all backgrounds, come together in one room to grow together so that then we can go out and make a difference in our world. And this year, we've been asking ourselves the question, is there more to life? You know, that's a pretty easy question to ask in this year and even in this past week. Is there more to life? There has got to be more to life. Whether you've been following Jesus for a really long time, or maybe you're just now discovering who God is and who He is in your life, that is a question that applies to everyone. And we believe that oftentimes the more that God has for us, we believe that Jesus said, oh my goodness, I just forgot the verse. Jesus said, oh my goodness. Jesus said that I have come so that you can have life and life to the fullest. And we believe that. What in the world? I've been reciting that in my sleep all week. We believe that Jesus came so that we could have life and life to the fullest. But oftentimes, the more that God has for us actually seems pretty hard to find. It can feel confusing. It can feel like we don't know what that actually means, like it's a reality. And that's where community comes in. Community is so important. And so tonight, we're asking ourselves the question of belonging. Where do I fit in? Belonging, research shows that belonging is more important than even relationships with your family, how much income comes. Science actually says that belonging is so near and dear to the human heart that it has a longer lasting impact than anything else that provides security in life. And over 2,000 years ago, when the church was born, just like what you heard, it's happened. They joined together at a table over food. They joined together over teaching. They prayed together, and that is still happening today. We are a part of the community that happened over 2,000 years ago. We're all part of that story. And community is so effective in shifting our perspective because it brings clarity. You know, I have this old camera up here. It's my dad's from college. And a couple years ago, I just kind of started dabbling in film photography. I'm really not very good, but I love doing it. I have fun doing it. And I've realized that instead of just pointing and shooting, you have to actually focus the lens. You have to pause. You have to take time to focus the lens. And the role that community plays in my life is focusing the lens of my life. Through bringing me back to scripture, through bringing me back to the truth of who God is, to bringing me back to prayer, it's how I can experience the more to life. This past week in my small group, we were able to talk about how community has made such a difference in our lives. And I was actually talking, Ananda's in my small group, and we were just talking right before this, how the things that we talked about in our small group just this past Sunday played a difference in our week in shaping our current circumstances. And so that's what tonight's all about. It's about finding belonging in a relationship with God, finding belonging in relationships with other people, because we believe that a relationship with Jesus changes everything, including our perspective and our relationships with other people. And so we're gonna take time in this next song to reflect on the fact that God gives us life. And you're gonna see pictures of all of these different women who meet in our community, who've been meeting on Zoom over the last year, who've been meeting in person, of all different ages, of all different backgrounds. And we're gonna pause and we're gonna celebrate and thank God for the community that He brings us. Freedom.
pasture. And a thief is only there to steal and kill and destroy. But I came so that they could have real and eternal life, more and better life than they ever dreamed of. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, for life. Yes, God. We want the world to know of this love and this life.
For all the world to find your love, for all the world to see that you are God, forever be lifted high. The one who holds the universe and every beating heart across the earth, Jesus be lifted high. You are, I'm living in the light of my Savior, dancing in the arms of forever. I'm singing like I'm walking on water. You are alive in me. I give my life to follow. Your love is all I want now. You are alive in me.
Good evening, Calvary women. That is like the best moment of the week for me so far. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. My name is Katie Mills, and I am just watching you worship, and it is just the most beautiful sight. So thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you for bringing your friends. We are all so happy to be here together, aren't we? Just to be out of our homes and in the house of God. And I have an honor tonight. I'm so excited to introduce you to Vicki Rose. She is our special speaker for this part of the evening. And one of the things that I want you to know about Vicki is this. She is a voice for many generations. She's a voice for her generation, for my generation, for our daughter's generation, for the little girls who are up here singing. She is someone who has so much wisdom to offer. Her life adventure is unbelievable. I can't wait for you to hear about it. I'm so excited to get to ask her some questions tonight. Just a little bit of background on her so that I can save her some time so she can really focus on some awesome parts of her story. Vicki was born in New York City. She's a New York girl. Do you have any New York girls in the house? She went to Sarah Lawrence College. She was a corporate buyer for Macy's and Saks. You're gonna wish that she had time to give us fashion advice tonight, but we're gonna be talking about other things. Vicki has had an incredible ministry life. She's been mentoring young women. She's been featured on Family Life Today, Focus on the Family. She's a published author, speaker. She's been heard all over. Currently, she's the ministry leader for the New York Yankees Women's Bible Study. So if any baseball fans are in the house, her and her husband Bill are really involved in the world of professional baseball. And one of the other things that I want you to know is this: she has been married for 44 years. Do I have any married ladies here? That is a long time to be married. It's awesome. She has 2 adult children and 6 beautiful grandbabies that we would love to talk about the whole evening for my grandmas who are here. But I'm just so excited for you to meet her and know her. I do want to let you know at the end of the evening, she has an incredible book called Every Reason to Leave. It's out in the lobby if you want to know a little bit more about her story, if what you hear tonight just kind of touches your heart. So that'll be available on the lobby afterwards. And I think for me, as you meet her, just how I felt when I met her, you're just going to be wanting to soak it all in. So please join me in welcoming Vicki Rose to our gathering. So tell us a little bit more about who you are. I just gave them like the outside glimpse, but tell us a little about your story and
I
who
would
you
love
are.
to do that. It's first of all, I'm so honored to be here. It's just a very special night for me. I'm going to tell you my story. So for the first 35 years of my life, I really thought the abundant life consisted of having a lot of money, many homes, maybe lots of clothes and shoes in the closet. I thought that was the abundant life, and maybe being rich and famous to add to it. I thought if I had that, then I would be happy and it would be good. I grew up in New York City on the Upper East Side. I went to an all-girls private school from kindergarten through 12th grade. So that was 13 years in one school with all girls. It's quite something. 1 week before my high school graduation, my mother died of a year-long illness of cancer. And I felt sad, very sad, but also some relief, being relieved from her terrifying temper. Well, that fall, I went off to college immediately. And I started to feel that there was an emptiness and really had no idea who I was or what I was supposed to be doing. And I buried that in working very hard in school, getting good grades, and performing in dance department, in dance programs, even getting a couple of leads, and becoming famous on my college campus. But at that point, I started to believe that if I could just get married, that would solve everything, that would fix all the hurt. And so that was next, I hoped. I graduated from college, and shortly thereafter, I went to work at Saks Fifth Avenue, and about 6 months later, I met a man named Bill Rose. Now, he loved sports, especially baseball. Really, we had no interest in common because I had never been to a baseball game. And that first summer that we dated, I went to 70 New York Yankee games. So that's all about codependence. That's another night for another talk. But I was sure that he was going to buy me happiness. And I thought he would heal all the hurts that I'd had since childhood. And I thought he would just take the place and do things for me that no one in my family had ever done. So in spite of no interest in common, we met a little over a year. We married a little over a year later. Fast forward for five years later, our son Douglas was born, and then our daughter Courtney. And at the same time, my husband decided he wanted to open a sports bar and restaurant in Lower Manhattan. So he rented a 5,000 square foot space, which, if you know New York, is enormous. The restaurant had terrible hours. He was exposed to many temptations, and he developed an escalating cocaine habit. And I was home alone with 2 children, 2 toddlers. I was lonely, I was sad, I had no idea how to be a mom. And after about a year and a half of that, I asked him to leave because I could no longer live with the chaos of his addiction. And there I was, a single mom, something I had never dreamed I would be. I really felt empty, alone, and very, very lost. So, as I said, we separated in June of 1986. And a year and a half after that, I had been working for Macy's, as Katie said, and I came home from a trip, buying trip in Asia, and on my front hall table was this beautiful invitation, gold lettering, and it invited me to a dinner at the Waldorf Astoria, black tie, to hear about Christianity in the world today. And I thought, you know, this is a great opportunity to go out and get dressed up and have a good time. I really wasn't that interested in the topic. But as a single mom, you don't get that opportunity very often, so I accepted the invitation. But that night really changed everything, because this is what I learned, that God loved me and had a plan for my life, but that I was separated from God by what the Bible calls sin, and that Jesus Christ was God's only provision for man's sin. And that if I received Jesus as my Lord and Savior, that I would be given the gift of eternal life and all my sins would be forgiven. I had never heard that before. And that night at that dinner, I prayed to receive Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. No, please clap for the Lord for that, for sure. It was November 29th, 1987. And then I started reading God's Word. I was invited to Bible study and could not get there fast enough. And I began to have peace and a joy and to be content, even though none of my circumstances had changed. The emptiness was being filled by God and His Word. And I love what's written on the wall outside. A relationship with Jesus changes everything. And indeed it did. My kids at that point were now 4 and 6 years old, and someone had given me a book called Leading Little Ones to God, and I started reading to them at breakfast just to calm the hurricane. And one morning, Doug, age 6, said, "Mommy, we need to pray for Daddy to know Jesus." And I thought, pray for him? I would really rather kill him.
I think they laughed because they could relate for a minute.
But thankfully, I didn't say it out loud, and I agreed with the children that we needed to pray for their dad. And as we prayed, my heart started to change toward him, and I really wanted the children to have a godly father and my husband to know Jesus. And so pray we did, pray at breakfast every morning, pray at bedtime every night. 3 years later, my husband also prayed to receive Christ at another outreach dinner like I had been to. He gave his life to Jesus Christ. He went to drug rehab, and we spent time in marriage counseling. And after a year, he came home to his family. We had been separated for 5.5 years. When he came home, Douglas was 9 years old. He wrote a story, a paper for his class at school. It was called The Best Day Ever. It was about coming home from school one afternoon and finding the front hall filled with suitcases because Daddy was home. And a few nights after Billy was home, Courtney said to me, "Mom, you know, God can do anything." And she's a 7-year-old at that point. I said, "You're right, but what do you mean?" She said, "If God could bring Daddy home, which was never gonna happen, he can do anything." A lot of wisdom for a 7-year-old, a lot of truth. So as a whole family, we were able to stand together at 2 high school graduations, 2 college graduations, and 2 God-honoring weddings in 2008, both my children marrying godly spouses. Praise God for that. And as Katie said, we now have 6 amazing, precious grandchildren. Shout out to Noah, who's watching.
I know, any of the grandbabies watching, we're really glad you're here. So I want to ask you another question. I know that's a lot of your story and your background. Where in that journey were you experiencing kind of this more to life theme? Where were you experiencing what that was like? And it sounds like your children were really, really picking up on that too.
Yes, so I just want to tell you that 3 years ago, we had to separate again. My husband had been experiencing pain for almost 10 years, and his drinking morphed into uncontrollable and out of just unmanageable. And we did separate again. And God's word carried me through. So the more, the better life, really discovered through this time of pain and real hardship and suffering. But God's word carried me through that time of separation. He held me together by his word, by his love, and through his people. Isaiah 43:1 says, "Fear not, I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine." And God, the God who created all things, the universe, the God who is holy and who is love, said to me, "I am his." And that was life-changing for me to know that I belonged to the God of the universe, that his love was for me. My marriage might fall apart, which it seemed like it was, but belonging to Jesus was my hope and my comfort and my joy. I was his. And I learned that my identity was in Jesus, and I was who he said I was. In the midst of deep sorrow and uncertainty, God gave me joy because of his tangible presence with me, and so much more. If I had not been in the Word daily, which is part of the more life, if I had not been in the Word daily, I would not have had the strength to walk that journey.
Yeah, one of the things that I know you shared with me that really stuck out was you said that in all of the empty spaces, you filled it with the Word. So at breakfast, you were reading the Word or listening to a sermon. At night, when you were falling asleep, you were listening to God's Word. You were reading his Word. You were playing worship as you woke up in the morning, even with that loneliness. So all of the spaces where the enemy wanted to come in, you were filling it with God's Word.
Yes.
Which is such a lesson to all of us with our thought life and just the spaces that we leave empty, that it's so easy for the enemy to come in and lie to us. But you were really combating that.
Yeah, before I got out of bed, I would reach for my phone and turn on praise music because I wanted to start the day praising God, not crying. Although there were many nights I went to sleep crying and woke up crying. Well, God did Ephesians 3:20. He did immeasurably more than all we asked or imagined according to his power. And we are back. After a year, my husband agreed to 1 year of provable sobriety. And I had to ask God for forgiveness for much of my own sin. And after 1 year, we reconciled. And we have a brand new marriage. I have a brand new husband. And praise God is right.
Amazing.
So this is the more and better life, is knowing that God has us and that who God is and who we are in him. That's, for me, the Lord had to shed me of thinking it was all material things, was the abundant life. I know that is no longer true. And I know that it is through Jesus and his word that we have the more life.
Yeah. So tonight we're talking a lot about belonging and about community and what that means for us as women here. And I know we're all in different stages of that. You might be surrounded by community right now. You might be feeling very distanced and very alone. And so, what would you say to us, no matter kind of where anyone in this room is sitting, what would you say to us about your story and community, what it looked like for you in those different seasons?
Yeah, community, particularly in the last 3 years, was a lifesaver. And before we relocated back here to Fort Lauderdale on March 3rd of 2020, so you know that we thought we were here for 2 months
Welcome
vacation.
back to Florida.
And we relocated on March 3rd and March 5th, and then everything shut down. And so actually, it was the best thing that had happened because I'd been away from New York for 2 months and away from my Bible study and away from my community. And when Zooms, I had never heard of Zoom, so I'm that generation, I'm sorry.
Join the club. Lots of people
I had
hadn't
never
Zoomed
heard of
before
it.
this year.
And when my Bible study from New York on Zoom started, it was joy. It was joy in our prayer meetings, and we carried on. But then God reminded me that I had moved here to cut the cord. And I started to pray, how am I going to be able to plug into this enormous church? And God just opened one door after another. I met Annie and I met Katie, and here I am. And I got to be part of a group here at Calvary's in January. And we were on Zoom, and this is a shout out to Allie, Cecilia, and Paula. We bonded, like, it was an amazing thing, and I felt a part of this church, and as did they. And God just planted different people in my life along that path. Again, knowing God cares so deeply for me that he provided every single thing I needed, including a way to plug into Calvary Chapel. So.
Yeah, one of the things that Vicki shared with me that just keeps playing in my head, and Suzanne and I were talking about it, was just that even when you were going through the hardest times, you were serving, you were in your church, you were showing up with the kids, you were feeding homeless people with your children. They were seeing you say, but God, we will still be in his house, and we will still come and worship him no matter what the circumstances of our life do. And that really carried you. And one of the things that was such an example to me in your story was just kind of how you've modeled Titus 2 the whole way. You have always been looking at that next girl, that next woman, and saying, how could my life, my story, even if things aren't perfect or I don't feel qualified or equipped maybe to teach or to lead a Bible study. You've taught so many Bible studies over the years. You've always been firm in that Titus 2 commitment. So that's amazing.
But that's what gives me joy. And when we are operating out of the gifts that God has given us, when we are using them, that is the more life, and it brings community as well. And I can't say enough about community. I don't know, I said before that if I hadn't been in the Word daily, I wouldn't have been able to walk that journey. But if I hadn't had community around me, people, friends praying for me, weekly accountable Bible study, being in a group, we had a group text, modern day things. All of those things, if that hadn't been the case, I don't think my husband and I would have survived the journey that we've been on.
That's a good word.
There are a couple of verses I just want to share. Psalm 32:3, King David says, "When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long." And that's when we keep ourselves isolated and silent and don't share what's going on in our lives, that's what happens. We literally waste away from being in solitude all the time or too much. Satan loves for us to be isolated in silence, and he uses isolation to tear us down, to lead us to doubt God. And that's where our sisters come in, where we encourage one another and lift each other up. In Hebrews 10:25, it says, God has called us to not give up meeting together, but let us encourage one another. And that's the great gift of
Even
community.
on Zoom. Even on Zoom, let's keep meeting
Even on
together.
Zoom, yes. And I'm just so glad to see so many faces in here tonight. But community helps keep me accountable, and it really took away loneliness for me.
Do you have one final thought you want to share with these women? Because I know that we would love to talk with you for the whole evening. And if you do want to talk with her more, like I said, make sure you head out into the lobby afterwards. But any final thought that you want to share?
Yeah, I want to just say at the end that whatever trial you are facing, for me it was marriage issues and addiction, but you might be facing an empty nest or financial loss during the pandemic, or loneliness, or rebellious teenagers, or lots of young children at home, and that's very challenging as well. Please know that all I have shared with you is not just for Vicki and Bill Rose to have a happy life, but it's for you to know that nothing is impossible for God, not anything. And for us, each of us, to seek him first through his word, through understanding who he is, as we sang so beautifully before, that he is Almighty God, but he is also Abba, Father, and he is love, and he is our rock and our redeemer and our refuge and our righteousness, and he's the strong tower that helps us stand firm in whatever we're facing. So knowing Jesus came to give you and to give me, to give us the abundant life, is completely life-changing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you for being vulnerable. It's hard to get up here and be vulnerable with our stories, but it's one of the things I love the most about the gathering. So we are going to take a moment and hear from some women in our church who have discovered community in different ways this year. And I think it's going to be encouraging to you, because maybe you're trying to picture that for yourself, and hearing Vicki might have even inspired you a little bit. But take a look at the video and let's see how other ladies are doing it.
My name is Sammy Rodriguez.
My name is Marie Jones.
I'm Janet Hugh.
And I'm Joanne Darling Wechter.
I'm currently about to finish my freshman year in college, which is crazy, and I'm studying communications there and minoring in intercultural and biblical studies.
I happen to be a single mom of 3 amazing adult children.
I'm a mom, I'm a grandmom, and I am a sister, and also a sister in Christ.
I am also a mother. I am a wife. I have 2 beautiful children. I have 2 grandchildren, a boy and a girl. I am a co-leader. We call ourselves the 3 J's because there's Jesus, Joanne, and Janet.
Community actually came into my life during a time, even though I was serving many years, but I was still living somewhat in solitude. That circle of sisterhood has allowed me to just as much heal during a time that I needed others in my life.
At Calvary, my community here is unchanging. Even when I do go to college and I'm not here all the time, the community here is still so constant, and I think that a source of community for me has always helped keep me grounded even when it's hard.
It has made my journey with Christ much stronger because I have a community of women that I'm able to walk through life with, and I experience their pain, but also the healing of their pain.
In addition to that, it's also about the service aspect of it. Like, we're not just here for ourselves, but we also want to serve others, and we also do the mentoring and being able to bring out the gifts and talents that they have so that they too can go on to become leaders and eventually impact the church at large.
We are all ages, all cultures. We start from early 20s to 80 in our group. We're growing together and learning so much about other people because we're so different, and yet we're so much alike in our love for Christ.
Amen. To just come together and just do life, to be able to circle up, talk about the Lord's word with women who are like-minded, and just have fun in the Lord.
So often, the most joyous and laughter-filled moments in your life happen when you're in community and when you're surrounded by those girls that you love and that you're growing with. And so for me, I know that on my bad days, my girls are there to help me and to bear the burden with me and to encourage me. But also on the good days, they're there to celebrate with me and have joy with me.
I don't think we're called to be alone, and we're not called to walk this walk alone. You have lifelong friends. You know, husbands go, children go, families may go, but your sisters will be there for you for a lifetime.
You can't have a better life than that, knowing each day that you're going to have someone to share this journey with.
My relationship with Christ is one that has me just totally content with who I am as a single mom, and having relationship with other ladies just kind of fills whatever void that may possibly be there.
As we're focusing on John 10:10, which says that Jesus came so that we could have life and have it abundantly, what I love about that verse is that in its context, Jesus is talking about how he is the good shepherd and he is the voice that his sheep follow. And when he talks about the sheep, he talks about them in the plural sense, meaning that there's more than one of them and that they're a flock together. And that also implies that we are part of that flock and we are part of that community, which means that when we get to have his life, it's in community with each other.
Hi, girls. How are you guys tonight? Are you having fun? Me too. My name is Alisar Eels, and I have the honor and privilege to introduce our speaker to you tonight and tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Shona, and you're going to see her up here in a second, but when I think about Shona, she is just like sunshine and a warm hug. It's like being around or having like the perfect beach day, which I got to experience this morning. But unfortunately for her introverted husband, she is a stranger to no one. So she's sure to talk to you. She will school you in her knowledge of basketball, just as much as her knowledge of makeup. And she might be one of the biggest Miami Heat fans that you will ever meet. So go Jimmy Butler. What else can I say about Shona? She is an amazing wife and literally like the coolest mom to 3 beautiful babes. But my absolute favorite thing about her is her crazy ability to make you feel like you are the only person in the world when you talk to her. It's amazing. She is authentic as it gets. She will instantly put you at ease. She walks the hard roads with her people, with grit and just the heart of a prayer warrior. She has walked many of those roads with me. And I didn't know how much I really needed her, but God did. And he brought her into my life right before my husband and I found out that our daughter was diagnosed with cancer. And Shona was there in the hospital rooms and constantly texting. And her home and our community group for the last 2.5 years has been a place of refuge, a place of healing, a place where we've experienced great joy and watched a lot of Miami Heat games. And she's just been family and has brought such a great sense of belonging, made us part of her family. So, with all that being said, I hope that you are excited and ready to open God's word tonight and hear more about belonging. I am so honored to welcome to the stage Mrs. Shona Basilichi.
Hi. Hello. How is everyone? Right. When I heard that Alisar was introing me, I was extremely excited because no one can communicate with speaking or writing better than her. I knew she was going to make me sound really great, and she did. Thank you. Maybe a little better than I actually am. But hello to everyone online and on the green. I'm really happy to be here with you. I am a true island girl. I am slow. Woo, to the other island girl in the room. I move on island time, which just means that I'm slow. So I really just want to pray and get started so I don't keep you here all night. I want to honor the time that I've been given. Oh, and I want to thank Vicki. That was so incredible. Thank you for sharing. I was very inspired. I want to read her book. I want to sit and talk with her. I don't know a lot about baseball, but I'll watch any sport. So we could talk baseball too. I could learn. But so yes, let's pray and I'll talk to you. Father, we're so thankful We're so thankful for you. Thank you for just what you're doing in our lives and all the things that have brought us to this very moment, in this very room, God. Things that were amazing and easy and things that were hard. God, we thank you for them if they just show us more of who you are, if they draw us closer to you. I just pray that you would fill this room with your presence. I pray that you would be honored and glorified during this time, and that you would just be lifted high and made much of. We love you, and it's in your name we pray. Amen. People pursue lots of things. They pursue dreams, careers, fortune. These are things that they go after with purpose and passion. And I was thinking about things that I pursue. I pursue chocolate. I have to have something sweet after every meal. I will dig through drawers, our pantry, purses. I will dig through all the purses. I will even go into my kids' rooms and look in there too. I feel super guilty because I just chastised my son for stealing all of his sister's Easter candy while she was at work, and I'm now realizing that it's a learned behavior, so I'm going to have to apologize to him. I pursue the perfect hair products. Where are my curly girls at? My hair is not curly tonight, but it usually is very curly. I mean, I read the blogs, and I follow Instagram accounts, and I will stop you wherever you are. If you have curls, I need to know what you use. I pursue the products. But there's something else that you and I should be pursuing, and that's community. We were made for relationship with God and with each other. Colossians 2:19 describes us as being a body, knit together. We need each other. We work well together. Imagine if your body just kind of like did whatever it wanted, and I guess it kind of does do whatever it wants, but you know what I mean? Like, you need rhythm. It works together, right? And that's what we need to do. And in order to do that, we have to spend time together and know each other and be in community with one another. God could have made us solitary creatures like the platypus or the polar bear, but he didn't. He made us for relationship. These relationships, though, do not happen just because. They take time, they take energy, and they take effort. We started watching the second season of The Chosen. Anyone start that? Yay, so good, right? Jesus, the actor in The Chosen, one of the episodes said, this is not in the Bible, but it's in the show. It says, if we won't make time for friends, we won't have any. Simple. I don't know if Jesus would have said that way, but it's true. And tonight we are going to see Jesus pursuing his friends. We're going to see him go after his friends. Tonight I'm going to tell you two things. Well, I'm going to talk, but I'm going to give you 2 points. One is what you should expect when you're in community, and the other is what you should do while in community. Oh, I didn't even tell you where we're going to be in the Bible. Okay, well, let me open my Bible and then I'll tell you. We're going to be in John 12, just 3 verses. Maybe I should have brought my readers. All right, it's going to be up there for you to see. All right, John 12, verses 1 through 3. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining at table with him at table. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. My first point tonight is expect a mess. So in my brain, I'm pretty positive that I'm half Joanna Gaines and half Martha Stewart. I love to bake. I love to decorate our home. I want you to come over, and I want it to be so cozy. I want everything to sparkle. I want the floors to sparkle. I want the windows to sparkle. Like, I want it to be perfect. Everybody in the room who knows me is probably smiling because there's a problem. I hate to clean. I'm unorganized. I love to organize, but I'm unorganized. I don't know. I don't know. Pray for my husband because he's so not unorganized. And I'm a horrible time manager. So these are not traits that really work well when you want your home to sparkle when people come over. We have, as Alistar shared, we have a small group in our home, and every other Thursday, they're there. And every other Thursday, like clockwork, I'm not prepared. I want to like go all out for them. I want to make it so special, but they arrive at 7:30. They come at 7:30, and at like 2:20, I have not cleaned, and I don't know what I'm feeding them, which means that it usually comes from the neighborhood Walmart frozen section, or more recently, Trader Joe's. Yay for Trader Joe's, which is like open by our house now. But, oh my gosh, sorry. I scrolled down. It's my first time using an iPad, not while teaching. Not ever. Just want to clarify. I have used an iPad before. But one of the more recent Thursdays that they were coming over, my son yelled, "Mom's vacuuming again, must be having small group." I don't clean a lot, like, I just don't like it. But, but I'm being so honest with you. Sometimes they leave and I realize I never even like looked at the toilets. And when you have boys that live with you, like you must clean the toilets. A wise friend told me though that when I warned her when she was coming over that it was really messy, that I told her, I was like, just be warned. And she said that the closer she and I got, the less I would care. And it's true. So if you come over and it's messy, I think we're really close. So often we don't want people in our homes because things aren't perfect. Or sometimes we don't want them in because we want it to stay perfect. Any overly neat people in here that I obviously don't relate to? We say things like, when I get new furniture, or when I get a bigger place, or when I put stuff up on the walls, or when I paint the walls, then I'll have people over, or then I'll start a small group. But I'm encouraging you, or even challenging you, to not wait. Think about what Jesus did with the loaves and the fish. He took this little boy's meal, offered, and multiplied it and made it something so great. And he will do the same for us. If we just take what little we have, whatever that is, and we give it to him, he will use it, and he will use it mightily for his glory. I'm not asking you to do anything that I have not done myself. For 3 years, our dining table were two plastic folding tables stuck together, like pushed together, with some Walmart plastic chairs that we borrowed from our friends and we just never gave them back. And we just got a new table. I'm so excited. I love this table so much, you guys. I just go in the dining room to like stare at it. And things are still not perfect. We don't have chairs, so we're still using the plastic chairs at the pretty table. And our small group is there, and we love it, and ministry is happening. We hear this account, and we think it's a small dinner party. And in fact, it's not. There are a lot of people here. The disciples were here. We know that Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were there. There were probably many others that were there. It was definitely loud and crazy and messy. At the end of the day, having everything perfect isn't really what lasts into eternity. It's the ministry that happens around the table. It's the conversation. It's the knitting together of our hearts that lasts. It's the worshiping and praising Jesus that lasts. So just open your home or your backyard if you're COVID friendly, like to do it COVID friendly. You know what I mean. But there's another mess that we encounter when we're in community, and it's the messiness of life together. We are sinful, we have quirks, we have habits, and we're just messy, aren't we? We have stuff, right? Chris, when teaching on community, will often refer to loving one another as hugging a porcupine. It's painful, and I have to tell you that every single time that I have heard him use this analogy, I consider myself the one doing the hugging. And while preparing for this, Jesus said, Shona, you know, you're prickly too. I thought, oh, I'm not, but I'm totally prickly. And a part of being in community is becoming less prickly. We mature in community. Excuse me. The Bible calls it iron sharpening iron. And I love when we see in verse 2 that Martha's serving, because the last time Martha was at a dinner party, it's Luke 10, she was not in a good mood. She was serving, and she was so mad at her sister for not helping, and she told Jesus how angry she was. But she's not, it doesn't say that in here. She's serving, and I envision her serving with a smile, maybe serving with joy. I envision her looking over at her resurrected brother. In John 11, Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead, and I envision her looking at him and worshiping and praising, and then looking over at the one sitting at the table who did such a marvelous thing. She's grown in community, and I'm so proud of her. We definitely sharpen one another. I have a girl that I mentor, and this is not like the older you are, you have to only sharpen the younger. Like, we sharpen each other. It doesn't matter our age. It doesn't matter. So I have a girl that I mentor, and we were driving one day, and she said to me, Shona, you know, I was driving. She said, Shona, you have low-key road rage. And I thought, I chuckled, and I was like, haha. And I mean, like, it's Florida. The driving here is the worst. I hate it so much. And what I chuckled at in the moment, I couldn't stop thinking about. Here this girl is that I have taken under my wing to guide and, you know, pour into. And what am I teaching her? What she said really struck at something much deeper, and it was that I should be exhibiting the fruit of the Spirit when I'm driving, which I totally am not. And so this young girl definitely sharpens me with her words, and I thought about the fact that I had to talk about this tonight because I was so cranky on the roads today. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. The left lane is for fast drivers only. Please. Pray for me, because I really don't even know if I drive the speed limit. I think I'm speeding. I'm sorry. Like, pray for me. Romans 12. Sorry, that was not in here. Romans 12. Such a beautiful picture of what living in community should look like. For the sake of time, we can't read it all. I think you should totally go home and read it for homework. Does anybody in here like homework? I love homework. Yes? Yay, Romans 12, read it. One person. All right, let's call it something else. Let's not call it homework. Let's call it a fun activity. Go home for a fun activity, read Romans 12. Okay, so for the sake of time, we're only gonna read verses 9 through 13, which says, let love be genuine, abhor what is evil, hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection, outdo one another in showing honor. Do not be slothful in zeal, be fervent in spirit, serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer, contribute to the needs of the saints, and seek to show hospitality. Imagine if we lived trying to outdo each other in showing honor, if we did talk about each other behind our backs, but it was only uplifting and kind and gentle and just really beautiful things, what our communities would look like in here and then the communities out there. We have such power with our words. It's why I love Alisar so much, because she uses them so beautifully and so wisely, and we have the opportunity to do the same, just to lift each other up with our words. A part of the more to life that comes from living in community is the fruit that's produced when we are living this messy life together. We are growing together, being pruned and perfected, and that's painful and that's messy. So all these people gathered around the table, they don't make sense together. The disciples were the first motley crew. They just, without Jesus, they don't make sense, but they do make sense because of him. And in verse 2, it says that the dinner was given in Jesus' honor. He's the reason that they're there. He's the reason that they're together, and he is the bond that they share. They belong together because they first belonged to him, which is so refreshing to me because they have a seat at the table and they belong with Jesus. So do we. And we have a seat at the table with Jesus. We have a place of belonging, and he so desires a relationship with us. The God of the universe pursues relationship with us. Like, that's just crazy. The more that I prepared, the more that just blew me away. I knew that. I knew that. I just didn't know. I don't know if I knew that. And it's crazy. It's crazy. Our homes and our tables, no matter the size, should be places where people find belonging, where they find hope, healing, a safe place to confess and be restored. I love that I have a new dining table, but I want it to be so much more than just a hunk of wood in my home. I want my community to come over and feel safe there, to share and to cry and to worship and to mourn and to rejoice. We have such an opportunity to use what God has given us in really beautiful ways to bring him glory. And when we are doing that, we're blessed. It's crazy. We get to work serving him, and then in return, we're blessed. But we can't do this without him. Without him, we'd run from each other because we're messy. I would run because I don't like confrontation. But I stay because Jesus pours into me and gives me what I need to then pour out to others. Oh, I want to read something to you because I think Paul Tripp says it better than me. This is what he says about what community should look like. Oh, you guys, I really should have brought some readers up here. Okay. We each need to live in intentionally intrusive, that's messy, Christ-centered, grace-driven, redemptive community. This community is meant to enlighten and protect. It is meant to motivate and encourage. It is meant to rescue and restore. It is meant to instill hope and courage. It is meant to confront and rebuke. It is meant to guide and protect. It is meant to give vision and sound warning. It is meant to incarnate the love and grace of Jesus when you feel discouraged and alone. It is meant to be a visible representation of the grace of Jesus that is your hope. It is not a luxury. It is a spiritual necessity. I want to read that one more time. It is not a luxury. It is a spiritual necessity. Ladies, life together is going to be messy, but we have to pursue one another. We have to pursue Jesus and one another. I'm going to read verse 3 to you one more time. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. My second point is worship wildly. So last week, we went to a night of prayer and worship at Plantation, which is where my husband works. I don't know if everyone even knows who I am or who he is, but we're over at Plantation. I should have said that a long time ago, sorry. So we were there, and and worship was playing. My eyes were closed, my hands were raised. I was sitting like I was in the zone worshiping, and all of a sudden, the most wonderful fragrance filled the area where I was. And I've been reading this, and so I just thought, this is what it must have been like for the people who were in the room when Mary anointed Jesus' feet. And for a split second, I was like, Jesus, is this you? It wasn't. It was my husband who was sitting next to me. He smelled so good. I don't know what he was wearing. He's not something, I didn't even ask him. It was not something that he normally wears. But I really feel like the Lord allowed it so I could get this tiny glimpse of what it would have been like to be in the room that night or night, when the fragrance that was being poured out on his feet, which actually he was on the way to the cross and was being anointed. I feel like Jesus in that moment just gave me a tiny glimpse of what it would have been like to be in the room. Mary poured it all out in worship, and she didn't care who was watching. She was at a dinner party, and there were lots of people there, and I think sometimes we believe that worship is private only, or it's only for when we're in here and the songs are playing, but we see in this account that it's so much more. She worshiped wildly, and I know that it impacted the people in the room. They probably all stopped and watched and inhaled the fragrance, and I'm sure for weeks and months after, they thought about what she did, and that act of worship probably carried them through what was to come. The first mention of worship in the Bible is in Genesis 22:5, which says, he, Abraham, said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." The first time worship is mentioned in Scripture isn't in reference to singing, it's in reference to obedience. Abraham's obedience was worship. Mary's obedience was worship. Your obedience is worship. And it blesses Jesus, and it also blesses your community. If it blessed Jesus alone, that would be enough, right? But it blesses your community as well. So I don't know if she's here, but I'm gonna share a story. I don't remember why we were here, but I was sitting over there somewhere, and my friend Jessica was sitting over here. It might have been something to do with work related, because she works here at the church, and so does Chris. And she had just recently received a diagnosis of cancer. And so I don't know why, but I just couldn't stop thinking, I wonder how she's gonna worship. I wonder how she's gonna worship. And so I just kept looking over at her, and the music started, and she worshiped with her whole heart. And it was beautiful, and I know I wasn't the only person looking. And I have thought about that moment, over and over and over again. And that act of obedience from Jessica has been used in my life to really help me see my own stuff differently. I'm not sure if everyone in the room knows, but we have a child with special needs. He's 10, and just knowing after reading this, after watching my friend worship, just knowing that the things that I do, it's hard. It's really hard sometimes. Sometimes it feels like too much. I love that little boy. I think he's so perfect. But just knowing that my obedience, because sometimes I forget that worship is so much more than just singing a song. And so knowing that every diaper that I change, every time that I dress him or feed him or put him to bed, that I am worshiping Jesus and that he sees me. Oh, it doesn't always feel like that, and I don't always have the best attitude, but when I do, and knowing now that Jesus sees it as worship, it changes my perspective. It doesn't change my situation, but it changes the way that I'm doing it. And I don't know what your story is. I know there's so many stories in this room. Maybe it's not a cancer diagnosis or a child with special needs. Maybe you're a student in the room and it's friendships at school, because that was hard and it can be messy. Maybe it's like Vicki talked about, maybe it's marriage, maybe it's financial. I mean, fill in the blank. It could be so many things, but I just want to encourage you and tell you that your steps of obedience, whether they are tiny or whether they are big, are worship, and they are pleasing in the sight of the Lord. And like I said before, if that was it, that would be enough. But that the Lord lets what we're walking through influence the people that we're around. Everybody's not going to see what you're doing all the time, but just know that people are watching, just like I was watching Jessica. And however many months later, I'm still thinking about it. And I know that what she's doing and how she's walking out this situation is blessing a lot of people. And so I just want to encourage you. I want you to know that Jesus sees you and that your obedience is worship, and that your hands raised high and singing in this sanctuary is worship, and that when we're together in community, like, we can be worshiping together. It doesn't have to be some big production. Like, our lives lived out in obedience together is making a difference. So I just want you to know that you must pursue one another. You must pursue Jesus first. You must pursue one another because, I mean, we're like sisters in Christ. Like, I don't have a sister. You guys are my sisters. And we get to enjoy each other. We're going to be in heaven together forever, but we get to enjoy each other's company now. And it's not just for fun. Like, God's refining us and using the people in our lives to call us out on our stuff or to do whatever. But you must pursue. It's messy. It's worth it. Worship wildly. Be brave. Yeah, just be brave. I think that's it. Before I close, sorry. I should have just thought that and not said that out loud. I'm sorry. If my husband's watching. So a lot has been talked about tonight about belonging and being in the family of God, but I have to think in a room this size, on the green, online, that there are people in this room who don't feel like they belong to a group or to Jesus. And I just want you to know that you were created by God. He knit you together in your mama's womb, and he's been pursuing you ever since. And I just want you to know that, because I spent so much, all of my teenage years and so much of my young adult life pursuing a circle of people to belong to. And I got in a lot of trouble, and I did a lot of things that brought a lot of shame. It did not bring a sense of belonging. It brought so much more, and not in the best way. I got in a lot of trouble pursuing what I was created for, but not in that way. I was created to belong, but not to a circle of people who were going to bring me down or me bring them down. But I was created to belong to Jesus. And I just want you to know that. I want you to know, if you have come in here and you don't feel like you belong, you do. I don't want you to leave this place without having an opportunity to just surrender your life to the Lord, because, I mean, Vicki mentioned it before. It says it out there, and a relationship with Jesus really does change everything. We were created for a relationship with him. It is our greatest joy. It is our greatest gift. And I just want to give anyone in the room who has not made that decision an opportunity, but it's a private moment, so if we could just all close our eyes. And if you're in the room and you've never made a decision to follow Jesus before, if you feel your heart racing, or if you feel it, your chest tightening, it's probably Jesus pursuing you now. I would encourage you not to let this moment pass, because, you know, the Bible says, let today be the day that salvation comes to your home. You don't want to wait. When Chris talks about this decision that he's made, he always says his only regret is not doing it sooner, and it's true. I wasted so much of my life pursuing all the wrong things, and now I get to live pursuing the one thing that's worth pursuing, and that's Jesus. And I get all this other great stuff with friends that love me. But I don't want you to think when you come to Jesus that life is perfect. We still have problems. This isn't heaven. I don't want to make it something that it's not. Jesus is worth all that we have. He is worth us worshiping wildly. Just, it's the sound of my voice, but I want you to listen to Jesus, whatever he's saying in your heart. If he's telling you that today is the day, would you raise your hand if you're ready to just start a relationship with Jesus and to belong to him? I'm going to ask you, if you are on the green or in this room, to raise your hand. This is just a moment between you and him. I see your hand in the back. If you are online, would you just text BELIEVE to 31352 in the chat? There are people waiting for you. Is there anyone else? He loves you. Yes, I see you. He adores you. The God of the universe, not a man, but the God of the universe, adores you and desires a relationship with you. If your hand is raised, I'm going to say a prayer. You just repeat after me. It's my words, but it's your heart to Jesus. Repeat after me, wherever you are. Dear God, I'm ready to surrender my life. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of trying to find belonging in any other place. Thank you, Jesus, for what you did on the cross. Thank you that you love me, that you poured out your life for me. I surrender my life to you, and I will now pour out my life in worship to you. I love you. It's in your name I pray. Amen. Ladies, if you just raised your hand in this room, on the green, online, I just want to be the first to say I'm so excited. Welcome to what we call the family of God. My friends are going to come up on stage and just give you some extra next steps. Thank you so much. It's been an honor, a privilege. Thank you.
Wow.
So good.
So good. Can
So
we give
good.
Shona another big
Yeah.
thank you?
Thank you, Shona.
That was so awesome.
There were several just mic drop truth bombs that were shared by Shona. I think the little Baptist Costal in me wanted to like run around and high five her. But when she said that community is not a luxury, it is a spiritual necessity.
Yeah.
Man, what a beautiful reminder. And I'm so thankful for my community because God knows I need them.
Yeah. For me, the thing that really stood out to me is we could have been created like the polar bear or the platypus, but God literally created us to be in community. So good.
So awesome. Good. All right, ladies, we're going to transition to probably the most or another important part of our night tonight.
That's right. It is time for next steps. Also, we just want to remind you before the end of the night to please be seated and wait to be dismissed so that we can dismiss you safely. But let's talk about next steps.
If you are one of those that said yes to Jesus tonight and responded to that call, again, welcome to the family of God. We are so excited for you.
Yes.
And we do not want you to leave this room without getting connected with someone. So if you can make your way, if you're in the sanctuary to the front here, we're gonna have prayer partners, we're gonna have new believer encouragers that wanna connect with you, that wanna pray for you, and we wanna gift you with a Bible for you to help you along your faith journey. If you're on the green, we'll also have encouragers right in front of the screen. And again, if you're online, please text the word believe to 31352 and just say in the chat, I receive Jesus tonight.
Yeah. Another great way to stay connected is by text. So if ladies, can we all get our phones out? Let's get our phones out. Let's see them. And let's all text the word women to, here it is, 91868. Let's do it, Shara.
Right.
Let's text the word women.
Text woman.
Let's do it, girls. We're all doing it together right now.
All right. 91868. Okay.
There we go.
Got it. Boom, woman. And while you have your phones out, if you are not on Instagram, a great way to interact with Calvary Woman is through Instagram at Calvary Woman FTL. And we would love for you to share your amazing pictures that you took tonight and all your Insta stories. Please tag at Calvary Woman FTL and let's interact throughout the week as well for more information.
Yeah, and girls, as we heard tonight, community is everything. So we would love, if you aren't yet, to join a group. For me, joining a group has been such a formative experience. It's a place where we can talk about the highs and lows of life and just grow in the Word of God together. So if you aren't yet in a group, there's a place for you to join a group online and in person. So go to calvaryftl.org/women. And also, you can visit the Connect experience, and someone will place you in a group that's perfect for you.
Awesome. And also, we want to assist you guys and support you guys in your walk. A lot of what we talked about tonight is belonging, is community, is being in the Word of God. So Calvary Woman has launched a new reading plan in the YouVersion Bible app. It's called More to Life. So we would love for you, your community groups, your families, your sisters to do this together. You can access it, calvaryftl.org/woman, or you can go to the YouVersion Bible app and just do in the search Calvary Woman, and the More to Life plan will pop up. And again, we are better together. So join in with others, share this experience, and grow together.
Yeah. And we also just want to remind you that we have a pop-up shop with some pretty sweet merch. So go ahead and check that out. Also, before you leave, you can check out the Grill Food Truck and the Generous Cafe to grab a little something to eat and hang out together. But now we're going to close in a final song of worship. So let's all stand together and worship Jesus.
Enjoy, ladies.
This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what
Thank you so much, ladies. You could have a seat. We are just going to go through our dismissal process. So if you're in this room, if you could just hang out with us for a few more minutes so we can get you out of here as safely as possible.
To our online community, thank you so much for joining us at the gathering. We'll see you guys this weekend online for church. And to everybody outside, we hope you guys had a great night and great weather and have an amazing rest of your night.